very powerful, potent speech that has been made by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and there have been several aspects to his speech, but most importantly, the message that has gone out not just to Pakistan, but to the rest of the world as well. I'm going to start my conversation over here with Ambassador Pradeep Kapoor. Thank you very much for talking to me. And Ambassador Kapoor, the number one takeaway from this speech has to be that India has set the red line. India has set the new normal, that every attempt in the future that is going to be made by Pakistan, from the land of Pakistan on India, which is an act of terror, is going to be termed, is going to be interpreted as an act of war. How has this diametric shift in the way we approach terrorism going to then impact how India as a country is?
Well, Megha, I think you're right. It is a very important move. It's a very important paradigm shift in our thinking, in our reactions, in our actions, and for our future. I think India has moved from being solely a soft power. It had moved earlier from soft power status to a mix of smart power, which is basically soft power and hard power. Now it has moved to a mix of smart power and real hard power. This hard power has been on display very, very clearly in the last few days. So it's a new India, a new face of India, the future of India, the future face of India, which has been shown to the world, and the world has to recognize it, has to realize that India is one of the most important partners in the war on terror. It has a lot of capabilities, it has a lot of expertise, it has a lot of defense technology, it has a lot of other strengths which will be extremely required for the future war on this terrorism, on political Islam, on Islamic jihad. So all these aspects are going to be important, and on the threats which China poses for the world in the days ahead. So India has established itself as a brand in this war. The defense area of India, the defense space, the defense technology, the Made in India brand also will get recognized in the coming days, will get appreciated in the coming days, and will get sought after in the coming days.
Yeah, because India only has to speculation was already rife. Even when there were these rumors floating that those F-16s and the JF-17s had been shot down by India, and what about the H-9 defense systems, that is a Chinese manufactured defense system that has been that Pakistan has been equipped with, had been completely destroyed. So questions were being raised on the military prowess of Pakistan, which has obviously been borrowed. The technology has been borrowed by China, from the Turkish drones and missiles. So where does that conversation stand over here, especially in wake of what Prime Minister said, that in this 21st century, the warfare that India has been able to display in this four-day conflict with Pakistan is something that the world is going to reckon with?
Well, the political leadership of India has displayed a lot of maturity, a lot of statesmanship, a lot of far-sightedness, and a lot of vision and thought leadership. So hats off to the Prime Minister and his entire team, and of course to our very, very brave armed forces for the exemplary display which they have shown to every citizen of India, to everybody in Pakistan, to everybody in China, and everybody in the world, as to what they are able to achieve. And for the world now to go ahead in the future, we have to see how we can consolidate all that has been achieved so far, how we can go on to the next steps in terms of drone technology, in terms of missile technology, in terms of defensive technology, radar technology, the protective domes or S-400s or S-500s or S-600s, which India may want to manufacture, in terms of the BrahMos manufacturing, in terms of the intelligence capabilities, in terms of the cyber capabilities, in terms of the information warfare, which is very important in any war like this. So all those areas now have to be further strengthened. We have to give a lot of thought. We should not think of this as an end. We have to think of this as a new beginning. And how do we move ahead from this new beginning to further consolidate the gains which we already have,
Right.
and to tell the world that, please deal with India in a proper manner, in a professional manner, in a serious manner. Don't take it for granted.
Yeah. I'll come to that perception that has been created, and a large role has been played by the US President Donald Trump. And how is it that India is going to deal with its India-US relationship here on, keeping in mind the kind of narrative that the US president is trying to build. But right now, talking about terrorism, fight against terrorism, Major General Dhruv Khatoj, it's also important to note that the Prime Minister has raised this very pertinent, important point, and the world leaders from across the globe had supported India in condemning terror. And the Prime Minister said that, whether we talk about the 9/11 terror attacks or the London tube bombings that took place, or the 26/11 attacks that took place in India, Parliament attacks, Pulwama attack, they all have their linkages somewhere or the other connected to these 9 terror hubs, particularly Bahawalpur and Muridke, that were struck by the Indian military strikes. The beheading that took place, the brutal killing of the Wall Street Journal journalist Daniel Pearl. Somewhere there were linkages that emerged from this terror hubs that were struck and the terrorists that were killed, over 100 terrorists that were killed. Now, do you think this is going to help India's cause tomorrow, because there is going to be the 12 to 67 UNSC meeting that takes place, and when India takes forth this case against Terror State Park and the terrorist hubs that are still continuing to breed in the country?
Thank you, Megha. Megha, this is going to be a long drawn fight, simply because, a very firm doctrine has been laid out now, and the Prime Minister has, couldn't have been clearer than that. That doesn't mean that Pakistan is simply going to give up and say, okay, I'm going to change my spots. That is not going to happen. So the thing is, the new doctrine has been born, and I'm very glad I wrote about this just on Sunday, this Sunday for Joyita Basu Sunday Guardian. So, and I mentioned this point specifically, that it's going to be a long haul, but there is a new doctrine in which there's going to be two facets. One is the hard power, where we will hit them, and the second is the non-kinetic measures like the Indus water and visas, etc., which have already been announced. And both of them are going to go in simultaneously as part of this new policy. Now, I think, we are, as far as Pakistan is concerned, they are not going to let go. So we will have to see as to how to respond for every single act of terror which they do. As far as the UNSC is concerned, can we get Pakistan onto the grey list? I'm not sure. Because for Pakistan to, there are other geopolitical interests which are at play. America has also suffered from terrorism, but America also keeps its own interests first. So when you're looking at American interests, their geopolitical interests, for them, Pakistan is a major player, which is why Trump said that, okay, both India and Pakistan are my friends. Now, the Americans are not going to sacrifice their geopolitical interest simply to root out terrorism. We are impacted directly by Pakistan, but the Americans and the West have been using terrorism and terrorists for their own purposes. The Chinese are doing the same thing. Everybody's doing it, So for India, it is going to be a difficult fight, but I'm glad we have laid down the red lines. You see, it's our fight. We will fight it. And unless you have the resolve, we are not going to win.
Okay.
So now that resolve has been set, we will see as to how this goes in the days to come. What all we can do to compel Pakistan. The word I've used is compellence. How we can compel them to shed the path of terrorism, and this is going to be India's fight.
Okay.
I don't think the world is going to come in. This is our fight. The Prime Minister has stated, and we will fight it, and we will win.
Okay.
Megha.
Okay, Ambassador Veena Sikri, but how do we prevent international community, powerful nations like the United States of America and Germany and Canada, who have voted in favor of Pakistan to give that $1 billion IMF loan to it, which has, just actually literally funded this terrorist activity that goes on from Pakistan side into India for decades together now. And while we are standing forth and strong and determined against fighting terrorism against Pakistan, and we are not going to differentiate between terrorist state and the terror hubs and terror organizations that are breeding over there. But at the same time, if they continue to get benefactors in powerful nations and powerful monetary organizations internationally, how are we going to be able to sustain in fighting terrorism along the border?
I think there are two aspects to this. One is what the Prime Minister already mentioned today, that we are strong internally. We are strong politically. We have a very stable government, third term for Prime Minister Modi. We are strong economically. The economy has been growing steadily in the last 10 years and is poised to grow even further. We are strong militarily. Prime Minister Modi spoke about the Made in India program. So these efforts to strengthen ourselves internally to match anything else that is available in anywhere in the world, this is very important. But there is an international aspect to this fight against terror. For all these decades, I must point out one fact, that Pakistan has continuously fought on the international scene, taking up the Kashmir issue at every forum repeatedly and gaining the support of the world community for this. Now, we at that time had a policy that we won't talk about it, let Pakistan do all the talking, we won't raise this issue. And we were losing in the international arena a lot of support just because Pakistan was occupying that space and getting the support of many countries. But now, in this new normal that Prime Minister Modi has spoken about very correctly and appropriately with great strength and leadership and statesmanship, I think it is important that we are going to simultaneously strengthen ourselves internally, but also internationally take this fight and convince everybody about that terror and terrorism and terrorist acts can no longer be tolerated. That is why we have called the terrorist attacks on 22nd of April as an act of war. That we are not going to have any leeway on this subject, and we will treat every terrorist attack on our soil as an act of war and respond accordingly. Now, we responded on the 7th of May, and we do know that even between 22nd April and 7th May, much of the world community accepted in response to our interaction with them, External Affairs Minister and others talking to the members of the world community, that yes, India does have the right to respond. And we exercised that right on the 7th of May, but Pakistan did not accept just that, and they raised it even further. They escalated it. And in response to that, on 10th of May, we have taken even further action. So I think that it has to be a combination of internationally getting support. We must fight for, again, putting Pakistan on the FATF. It's not going to be easy, but it has to be done. We cannot give up before we even start by saying it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
We have to take this fight very strongly because, as our Prime Minister said, blood and water cannot flow together. So we are going to continue keeping the Indus Waters Treaties in abeyance. And we are going to continue to see that we can get the maximum use of the waters of the Indus River for our people. And all these years, we have lived with a very unequal Indus Waters Treaty, where India got barely a little more than 20% of the share of the whole Indus waters, and Pakistan got 80%. And even of our 20%, we did not use all of that, and even that flowed into Pakistan. So this combination of a very, very stern view, a stern relook, and and I think I must say that the support for our Prime Minister today in India is cutting across all party lines and communities. Now, this is a very important fact that, in many other cases, you have a little quibbling and parties taking a different view. But this time, we've seen all political leaders from all across the spectrum, even Mr. Owaisi and others, taking such a strong stand in favor of opposing terrorism. So I think this internal unity is a very important factor, and we have to combine the international support with the internal strength. And this is what our minister said today on this strong combination.
I'm going to come to you, Alok Mehta. What is also perplexing over here is the kind of counter narrative that the US president has tried to build, and he has been mostly successful because at this time, at least the Western media is talking about how it was a negotiation that was fructified because of Trump's efforts, how Trump has been able to broker peace between two countries, how Trump goes about taking India and Pakistan's name in the same breath, saying both are quote-unquote great nations. And it was the trade carrot that he dangled in front of India and Pakistan that stopped them from further escalating this conflict between each other? Have we been sort of naive in understanding how American administration functions?
Megha, frankly speaking, this message, the address to the nation, Prime Minister Narendra Modi cleared very much. He never mentioned anybody. I mean, he thought that what India will do. And that's why it's a clear message. Since last 3 days, people were thinking that because of the Trump. Because the Pakistani went to administration, American administration, and then they asked, okay, please save us. That's why the American and Trump took credit of it. But otherwise, you see, India very clearly today, I think this is a real, after 4 or 5 days, now the Prime Minister declared the war against terror. Now we can say it's a war against terror. Because earlier we were talking that no, it's not war. We are just taking a step to counter what happened in the Pahalgam, and then it will be over. But now today very much clear, and that's why the Western world, and including the Islamic world also, frankly, because the whole one hour we were discussing that the Western world, what I'm talking, that the China, Asian countries, the Gulf countries, the Islamic countries, they got the message that this is a different Prime Minister. Megha, because if you just go and maybe tomorrow we can run, the Mrs. Gandhi in 71 or in 65 at the time, and the 62, all the Prime Ministers, you can listen to their address to the nation and today's address of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Yeah.
I can very much clear that this is the message for the world that the now war is started. We are not going to stop. Just when terrorism is there, we will fight. Otherwise, we are not going to kill the civilians. We are not attacking. But if they do one thing wrong, then certainly the fit reply will be there, and it will not over in any negotiations. Negotiations will be only for Kashmir, but directly to Pakistan. Either they should stop the terrorism and talk and give us our Kashmiri people, our Kashmir. Then we have to, otherwise no talks. That's why this kind of speech, it's not a speech,
okay, all right,
it's an address
fair
to the
enough.
nation.
A strong message over there to the countrymen, to Pakistan and to the rest of the world. But Pathakrit, how do we now go ahead? Is there a need to reset ties with America as well? Because on one hand, you talk about Trump calling India and Pakistan quote-unquote great nations. I do not know for what reason he has not called out Pakistan for the terror sponsor that it is. There, the Prime Minister himself, and there have been, people, Pakistani army officials. There is the Pakistan DGP who's seen in that picture of this terrorists who were being given state honors. They were wrapped in the Pakistani flags. All these army officials and these Pakistani police officials, they were standing, participating in this funeral, which was in a highly restricted area. There were police personnel who were guarding, who were deployed over there, and you have a Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorist standing over there, bereaving the deaths of these terrorists who were killed in the military strikes. Why has the American president chosen to skip this very glaring, very visible aspect of the revelations that have happened in the course of the last 4 days?
Megha, Trump as an individual and Trump as an establishment man are two different people. So he was literally reading out a script today, which was given to him, and they have to show that somewhere it was the Americans who could do and nobody else. Just as they show in the films that it's always an American superhero who comes and saves the world. Basically, they bluff around. They can't do anything much. Secondly, let me tell you what has been one of the core aspects of today's speech, apart from the fact that Operation Sindoor has become the new doctrine for counter-terrorism. The issue is this: beyond the point, we will not seek diplomacy also. You can do whatever you want. Have you seen any of the NATO members asking Turkey not to give weapons to Pakistan to fight for terror this time?
No, tomorrow they are having meetings with Turkey. Turkey is saying that I am the one who is very happy to intervene, intermediate, be part of the peace talks between Ukraine and Russia, and
Stop.
nobody is raised an eyebrow over what the terror-sponsored Turkey itself is.
Megha, I'm not talking about what they have said. I'm saying, have the NATO members told Turkey not to give these weapons which they, in emergency shipped to Pakistan? No. The Americans know, the Americans are equally guilty of whatever is happening here. So I think what is being said is that, I think today, if you look at the seriousness in the face of Prime Minister Modi, he is today saying something which Israel has faced for a long period of time. We are actually alone in this fight, because everybody else, the Americans, do you think the Americans or the Turkish or the Europeans care two hoot if another 100 odd Indians die? No, they will not. For them, the investments matter, nothing else matters. So they'll give those sweet talks, and I think this Trump lollipop of trade, which he has been obsessed with, I don't know why the Americans get into that. So we have no problem with Americans. They are a strategic partner. We know we will have good relation with them, but don't lecture us. And neither I'm going to seek your any kind of permission before I do the next one. Does that mean that tomorrow America becomes our enemy? No. Does that mean that tomorrow America will stop aiding and keeping Pakistan afloat? No. And that's why I'm saying, as we are a $4 trillion economy, and as we continue our journey towards a $10 trillion economy, we will see problems, because let me make it very clear, even if anybody dislikes it, it is not just China, even the Americans beyond the threshold do not want India to rise. For them, China is today's problem, India is problem for tomorrow. So they will do everything possible. Tell me, what has been the American policy on terrorism from the time of 9/11? Are they not aware where Masood Azhar was? Were they not aware where Hafiz Saeed has been? They will not do. Please understand, I repeat what I stated earlier in Rishabh's program. If terrorism is an instrument of statecraft for Pakistan, then Pakistan itself is an instrument of statecraft for United States and China. This is, nothing can be more true than this. What has happened today, there is this, I think somewhere this submission and this acceptance of the fact that this is the way the world is. And that's why Prime Minister, after 10 years, he has been pursuing the world. Please define what terrorism is. He has been telling the United States, please define. He has been telling the, you know what, IMF is being termed around in social media today. They're terming IMF as Islamic Mujahideen Fund. Tell me what wrong are they doing? So all these multilateral institutions are front organizations for the deep establishment of West to keep on funding organizations like organizations inside Pakistan, and in fact even organizations like Hamas.
Yeah.
The Americans.
Yeah, but the difference between Israel and India is that Israel has complete tacit as well as overt support from the United States of America. Versus India, because it continues, it's somehow perplexing, surprising, shocking that Pakistan has been able to wiggle its way out of the blacklist. It continues to stay in the grey list despite efforts after efforts that have been put, dossiers after dossiers that have been built by India. Priya Sehgal, that is again going to be our effort. India is going to put forth its case against Pakistan. We have gotten those pictures, those videos of terrorists that are being that are seen paying homage, paying tributes, being part of the funeral, and you have the army officials, you have the Pakistani police personnel who are standing right behind them. It's hand in glove terror state that is Pakistan, and Prime Minister has rightly said that there is no distinction that is going to be made against the terror hubs, terror organizations, and the terror sponsor that Pakistan is. But if we are not able to build our case well in the international community, and forget about us not being able to, even if we build our case, there is no support.
Yeah, I couldn't hear the end. Can you hear me, Megha?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. I got the gist of it. I'm sorry I couldn't hear you properly, but I got the gist of your question. See, we have, come out of this without anybody else's support. I made that point even earlier to Rishabh also. It has been India's, we didn't have China supporting us. We had everybody else voting in favor of the IMF loan. India has gone into this really on the strength of our own, political unity, we could say, or the strength of our own power. And of course, with the Prime Minister leading taking the initiative and going ahead. We didn't cow down, and we've come out, we've held our own at the end of the day. So I don't think we should expect very much, because for whatever reasons, whether it is Pakistan's position, US also needs it for the way for its for its geography, for other reasons. Pakistan, China is of course using it as a proxy war against India by supplying it with ammunition. Turkey's got its own issues. So given all that, I think India has been managing pretty well on its own, and we shouldn't really be expecting for any support from anyone. We've held our own, and other nations have also, countries have realized that you cannot just discard India and treat it lightly in that sense. So the standoff that has happened because we held our ground. We didn't cow down, and I think that really is the road ahead. And the Prime Minister has made it very clear. The fact that his message was not just to the domestic audience. He even spoke about terror acts that were planned in Pakistan, which took place on the London Tube, 9/11. So he was sending a message to everybody: you may support Pakistan, but at the end of the day, they are carrying out attacks against you. So he was nailing the hypocritical stand of the United States also over here by not calling out Pakistan. India is doing the dirty work, and we have made it very, very clear that our attack was against terrorists and not against civilians. But he's also linked the terror state to the terrorist outfits over there. He said that Pakistan is supporting terror. That is one thing that has come out, from photographs like the ones you mentioned, which Foreign Minister Secretary and other at our briefings we've been bringing out. We had Vikram Doraiswamy showing it to the media over there. Our High Commissioner to the UK has also been brandishing the same photographs. We've had the Indian ambassador to the US, when he was asked that is India against war with Pakistan, he said no, India is against war with terror. So we have been pretty articulate on the messaging also. That's a lesson we learned after Balakot, when we were not so good at the messaging. We've been very clear with our messaging. We've said that you may want to, for whatever reasons, support Pakistan for whatever your reasons are, but India has taken on this war against terror. We are not fighting against the state, we are fighting against terror, and in Pakistan the terror and the state seem to be one. That message, I think, has come across very clear through every day from our daily briefings, and finally from what the Prime Minister said a couple of hours ago. Megha.
Sumit, coming to you and talking about, let's speak about, this total annihilation of the terrorist camps in Pakistan. And after that, because of the provocation and escalation that Pakistan took this conflict up to, the complete decimation of Pakistan air bases. In fact, there have been reports, there have been murmurs that we were so close to the nuclear installations in Pakistan, in Rawalpindi, that the Sargodha is where one of the air bases was struck, that Pakistan had no choice. 3 days we brought Pakistan on its knees, and it had to run helter-skelter. It had to go to United States of America and beg for a ceasefire. And in India, India has made it clear that they were direct. These are direct talks. This is something without a precondition or a post condition that India has agreed to. And this is also not a complete seizure of Operation Sindoor. This is just a pause, and we are going to closely watch every activity that Pakistan undertakes. How do we move forward from here?
First of all, Meghaji, I think we all need to be congratulated today, and the Honorable Prime Minister needs to be congratulated today, because he has set the new motion and vision of India. 12th May 2025 will go that day into the history. When we were all grown up as kids, we read about the 10 commandments of Moses. Today, I'm coining a new term on national TV. They are 10 commandments of Modi. 12 May 2025 will be the date when 10 commandments of Modi came, and it changed the direction of India. It changed the way India is going to function. Now, from after that, no politician, no political party can change its stand, because this is the new normal. This is the benchmark which Prime Minister Modi has said. No, it is a thing which has changed ourselves. We have changed our paradigms. And Meghaji, we did this with a nuclear-powered adversary. Israel does this with Hamas. Hamas doesn't have a firepower of Pakistan. They don't have nuclear. America does it with Houthis or in Afghanistan. They don't have nukes. They don't have the firepower of Pakistan. We did it with Pakistan. We decimated Pakistan in 2.5 days. And if the rumors are right, there are some radiation leaks in Noor Khan or wherever, which we don't know what happened. Now, these people had to come begging, even after they were in full preparation preparedness. This mullah military brigade with their terrorists, with their jihadi military, with their radicalized mullah called Asim Munir, and with all Islamic countries helping them, with all the money coming in with the help of America and all, still they could not stand to the might of India. And after 2.5 days, they were on their knees. And what ISPR is doing, they are making fake videos, they are making fake Photoshop photos. And after Modi's revelation, whatever is gone, but the future is more bleak for them. If you cross the line, Pakistan nahi rahega. That is a very loud and clear message. I was saying Pakistan will end. It has to be broken into 4 parts. Now the Prime Minister Modi says Pakistan nahi rahega. Meghaji, what I saw today is not normal Modi. It's the Rodra Roop of Modi. When Modi gets angry, when Shiva gets angry, the Rodra Roop is Bhairav. It's the Rodra Roop of Modi, and Rodra Roop of Modi is setting the lines clear. The 10 commandments are laid. Modi's commandments are laid. And that is going to be a new normal. And there is no politician, no politics which will come after that. No party which can change this. Because this is how India is going to behave. And I've been always saying, if you're the Israel of this part of the world, behave like Israel, think like Israel, and walk and talk like Israel. Because the paranoia and fear in the hearts and minds of enemies works more than the military power today. The mullah of the Pakistan and this jihadi Wahhabi brigade of Pakistan, literally they would have gone to the deepest bunker today, and they will be hiding because they don't know what is going to hit them today. I'm seeing some ceasefire violations happening, but this India will not send dossiers. No dossier. See the decision and see the death. No dossier, straightaway death. From dossier, we have moved to death diplomacy. It's a big thing what we have done. I think nobody else could do it except Prime Minister Modi, and congratulations to him. He has made us 1.4 billion people proud, and let Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, Keir Starmer, anywhere where you are in the world, no mediation, no talks, don't mess in our internal affairs. We know how to protect our nation. That is a given. So this talks, trade, yes, of lollipop, chutti kar do bhaiya. Ram bol diyo.
Okay, on that note, when you're talking about, the latest statement that has come from Donald Trump just a couple of hours ago, where he said that, because United States threatened to take away trade from Pakistan and India, they decided to come back to Trump and say that we are going to stop the war. And as per government sources, we are getting latest information that after Operation Sindoor commenced, the US Vice President J.D. Vance spoke to Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 9th of May. His Secretary Marco Rubio spoke to External Affairs Minister on 8th of May. And on 10th of May, the National Security Advisor was also spoken to with by Marco Rubio, but there was no reference whatsoever that was made on trade in any of these discussions. So that's the big news. That's the statement that is as per government sources, top government sources. They have released this piece of information. I'm going to come to you. I have with me Scott Faulkner, and Scott, let's understand over here these two parallel narratives that seem to be playing out. One from the Indian side, where the Prime Minister of the country, the Foreign Minister, the Foreign Secretary have been saying the same thing again and again, that the talks between Pakistan and India were direct. United States did not broker the ceasefire. It helped in bringing both the parties to the table, but there has been no talk whatsoever of sitting on a neutral side and holding talks on Kashmir, or the fact that because the carrot of trade was dangled by United States and Donald Trump, that both parties decided that they would rather not fight with each other and cease this conflict between each other. Now, how do we comprehend this? Because India and US have been moving forward towards being strategic partners. So, what is this association between America and Pakistan that Donald Trump continues to stay away and sort of not even touch upon the aspect of terrorism that Pakistan as a state sponsor produces decades and decades into 2025 now?
So Trump is literally a 19th century American president. He's America-centric, he's business-centric. And so unlike Reagan, who launched an international crusade against communism and tyranny, unlike George W. Bush, who launched an international crusade against terrorism. Trump is very America-focused, business-focused. He is not going to get in the middle of the India-Pakistan conflict, but he is going to, behind the scenes, and again, just because American spokespeople are saying trade wasn't mentioned doesn't mean it wasn't. That Trump, right now, 17% of Pakistani trade is with the United States. We're the biggest trading partner Pakistan has. So I can guarantee you that somebody, I don't know who, probably took the Pakistani government aside and said, we have this reciprocal trade tariff issues going on now. We can pull the plug on that 17%. Right now, that's literally $5.1 billion in revenue to Pakistan in the exports they make to the United States. So I think that there was a large trade stick that was used to bring Pakistan to the table. Now, the other parts of the issue is Pakistan has always looked the other way at best and supported at worst radical Islamic terrorism, whether it's the attack on the Mumbai hotel, whether it's the most recent tourism attack, whether it's the looking the other way, so to speak, when bin Laden was being kept on Pakistani territory. We really have a bad player, but I don't think the Trump dogma is looking at it from that direction. What he wants is peace in the world, and then he wants fair trade in the world with American businesses thriving.
I mean, as you say, Trump is a transactional leader. He doesn't really actually care about peace in the world, more about taking credit for whether it is the Ukraine-Russia war and a ceasefire that he is able to establish over there, or we talk about the Israel-Gaza war. The main idea behind trying to intervene in these matters, in these conflicts, is to actually get the credit for the peace that he actually may have brokered or not brokered, as in the case of India and Pakistan. But at the same time, I'm going to come to you, Lieutenant General Nitin Kohli, that when this narrative war that continues to build on, and you see on one side what India's stance is versus what America's stance has been, and for that matter, Pakistan obviously going to America and eulogizing Donald Trump and talking about, oh my God, that is fantastic, he's been able to help us broker the peace. But a very diametrically different statement, different narrative that comes from India. Now, how do we sift through the chaff? How do we know what is it that actually transpired in these behind the doors meetings and the phone calls that were happening in the last 3 days that India and Pakistan was in conflict with?
Good evening, Neha. You see, first of all, this has been an excellent, very assertive and very strong speech, which the whole nation and especially the defense forces had been waiting. He has laid out our defense doctrine today, rather national security doctrine, how we are going to operate. The bar has been raised, and how we are going to operate, he has made it very clear. And as a defense person, I feel so good that one of the points which he made was that this nuclear blackmail is not an issue. It will not work. So it helps so much in our planning, the way we can plan our operations, because every time this restriction used to be there, that I hope we are not crossing that line. We are not crossing that line. Secondly, he has also made it very clear that is Shakti. He used the word ki Shakti se hi peace hai. And Shakti doesn't mean only sort of defense forces, it also means economy. Probably that is the reason that they have not gone beyond a certain point. And this Shakti would mean that in the time to come, our sort of equipment things will also be obtained much more. And indigenously what we are producing, that will also get a fillip.
Yeah.
Now the point which you asked, firstly, he has made it very clear indirectly to the Trump and to the remaining world also, that if we have to talk, we'll talk on only these two things, POK and this. And he also said that this Pakistan has been the epicenter of terrorism, it may be 9/11 or the tube attack in London in 2005. He also has made it clear to them. As a statesman, he shouldn't have mentioned, and he didn't mention also, he didn't name Trump, but the message was amply clear. But the point what you were asking me, that what do we know? See, one really cannot know what has gone behind the scene. But what we can speculate is our taking out of 11 airfields on 9th, 10th night was so powerful that some of their very critical targets had been hit. It may be in Sargodha, so some of the hills there, and Chakodabad.
Yes.
These are the places which are very close to their nuclear storage. We are not saying, and our army has also, Air Force also made very clear that we have not at any such place. But you see the kind of panic which had been created. And this was also followed by, if I may say, the 2 earthquakes in that area of the similar magnitude,
Yes.
which is also rare. And also thereafter, some engineering team or Ministry of Energy team of Americans, they landed up there straight away. Probably they had been monitoring these things. So that's where Pakistan got panicky and it approached USA. Pakistan had also been approaching USA through Saudi Arabia and some other Islamic countries, because these countries, they could not directly support Pakistan, but they were approaching Trump that some kind of ceasefire should be obtained between the two countries, because Pakistan was not in a position to fight. And probably because of that nuclear thing only, whatever scare was created there, that Trump jumped in, probably thought that these guys might cross the red line. That's what I can think of, but one doesn't know what has happened behind the back. At the same time, Trump also has a tendency, as we all know, to speak and to take credit, like you mentioned some time back. He started with China that will put 300% tariff on you. How much he has put finally? 30%. That also you don't know what will happen.
No, now that they've come on the table, he's actually withdrawn those tariffs. They've come on, they have come on the agreement table, then they are holding trade talks now. So to think of it, creating a hoopla out of it, just to gain mileage, just to gain, television, on the television screens of millions of people watching all this theatrics, this drama is something what Trump thrives for. And clearly that's that. But I'm going to come to you, Quinton Hitchcock. He is a US strategic affairs expert. Quinton, again, the point over here is that one is the fight against terrorism, and India has time and again spoken to the maximum number of heads of states across the globe when the April 22nd Pahalgam terror attack happened, and there was global condemnation against the terror attack that took place, and India had vowed to strike against terror in Pakistan. And there has been a second strong message that has come from India, that terror-sponsored states like Pakistan are not going to be differentiated from the terrorist organizations and terror hubs that operate out of Pakistan. Now, somehow, despite ample evidence and proof circulating, provided in terms of dossiers and pictures and videos by India, countries like America and others have still not at least come out in public and accepted and acknowledged that Pakistan is actually a terror sponsor. It harbors terrorists, it feeds them, it breeds them. Now, what is it that is going to take for India to convince? I mean, I think they are convinced, but there seem to be other issues that is binding them to Pakistan in some way or the other, to remove Pakistan from the FATF blacklist, to give Pakistan that $1 billion loan bailout, IMF bailout. So what is the dynamics over here in the international community vis-a-vis Pakistan?
Well, the dynamics are relatively simple. The United States doesn't want to get involved, nor does the rest of the world want to get involved in a bloody, costly conflict between two countries with a nuclear arsenal. I think it really is that simple. Now, in respects to President Trump, Politically speaking, he doesn't have the ability to just sit by and let a war break out. Remember, one of the many reasons
these are
why
two
he got
contradictory
elected.
statements. You're on one hand saying that America would not like to meddle into the quote-unquote conflict between India and Pakistan, where time and again India continues to say this is not a war against Pakistan, this is a war against terrorism. And incidentally, it's Pakistan that sponsors terrorism. Incidentally, Pakistan is the one which breeds terrorism on its territory.
I understand that, but there's two countries involved, and the United States has a good relationship with both of them. So President Trump is not just going to sit by blindly and let a war take place between two countries like Pakistan and India. Now, there's another element to this that we're not talking about, and that's China. China has spent billions and billions of dollars on military technology in the form of fighter jets, hypersonic missiles, and who are they supplying that with? They're not supplying India with those weapons. They're supplying Pakistan. So China's going to have an influence in this, whether we like it or not. And who is America's biggest adversary? Well, that would be China, wouldn't it be? So this is more complex than India just fighting terrorism. There's other factors at play here, not to mention a $500 billion trade deal that's in the midst of being finalized between the two largest democracies in the world, the United States and India. So President Trump does have some influence in this. I don't think it's fair to say, okay, well, he's trying to take credit. I don't know that it's relevant who gets the credit for a ceasefire deal. The reality of the situation is that much of the world does not benefit from a war breaking out between Pakistan and India.
Okay, again, you have made a couple of contradictory statements. Here it is. I think it's again referring to what the Prime Minister of India spoke, that these 9 terror hubs that were struck by India on 7th of May have somewhere linkages and connections to the 9/11 attack that took place in United States of America, to the London Tube attacks that had taken place in United Kingdom, to several of the terror attacks that have taken place in India as well. These terrorist organizations which are globally proscribed, which have been designated as terrorists as United States, include Lashkar-e-Toiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed and Hizbul Mujahideen. All of these terror organizations were struck when these 9 terror hubs were blown out by India, and over 100 of those terrorists that were killed. So now the escalation that has happened, and that is what is ironical as well, and that's exactly why America and Canada and Germany and France and countries across the globe need to come out and actually address it and actually speak about it and actually call out Pakistan for what it is. Bharat Bharai, the fact that India has initiated that terror attack, the military installations of Pakistan were not touched. It is Pakistan that has then struck India with its drones and missiles and hit our civilians, hit temples, hit a church, schools, gurdwaras, tried to make it into a communal war. How is it that the world continues to still place itself in a condescending fashion and somehow has blindfolded itself to the fact that Pakistan has supported terrorism over here and has been continuously supporting terror over the past several decades?
Well, I don't disagree with you, but I think the President of the United States and many significant players in the global community are taking precautionary measures to make sure that we don't have a world war on our hands. So I think that situations like this, especially countries that are not directly influenced in it,
fair enough. Okay, there are two nuclear powers, but I do not understand when Donald Trump comes out and says that I brokered the deal with the two great nations of the world, India and Pakistan, that I am going to allow for a neutral site to be decided between both the countries to come on the discussion table and talk about Kashmir. I mean, just completely, I think, I don't know, I mean, I just completely, it's unfathomable for me. Bharat Bharai, again, the same question to you. Now, what are the limitations for the world to call out Pakistan for what it actually is?
With you, and I need to differ with my colleague, Mr. Hitchcock. There are two parties here, but one party has been supporting terrorism. Let's go back to Pahalgam of 2025, where 26 widows were created by the terrorists. Then 2019 Pulwama, same way 40 people were murdered. 2016 Uri attack, going back Hyderabad blast in 2013. 2011 Delhi blast, 15 killed. 2011 Mumbai blast, 26 killed. Then there were 2008 Mumbai attack where 171 people were killed, and it goes on. Pakistan has been able to call the nuclear bluff, and I have to say that neither President Trump nor Canadian Prime Minister nor any of the European leaders have outright condemned Pakistan. They all have condemned terrorism, but you have to nail down that terrorism was not dropped from heaven or hell by anybody. It is Pakistan that has been recruiting, training, arming, financing, and infiltrating them across the border to kill innocent people. And while we understand all world is concerned that there should not be a world war, but at the same time, you have to call out Pakistan and tell them openly, publicly, that you have to stop terrorism, stop supporting it, and try to condition the aid of the World Bank to try to supporting terrorism, not for ceasefire. I think this is a very wrong approach in trying to create a similarity between Hamas and Israel or between Pakistan and India. And President Trump should realize that he has to be more knowledgeable about knowing what is happening in India. For him to call that they've been fighting for 1500 years, he should know that Pakistan came into existence only 77 years ago.
Right.
Kashmir has been part of India for 5,000 years. It is named after Kashyap Rishi. So to try to say that there is a dispute, Pakistan was a spin-off. There is no question of dispute. The only dispute is portion of Kashmir that Pakistan is illegally occupied. So I think President Trump has to be educated more about the issues, and he has to be fair. He should not try to compare Hamas and Israel, and he should not try to compare Pakistan and India.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's exactly what Scott does Pakistan having nuclear arsenal change the terms of the game? I mean, as Quinton said, that because these are two nuclear powers that have come into conflict in the last 4 days. So, is this? I mean, are you justifying that? Is this why in the war between Hamas and Israel, it's easier for the American administration to take sides with Israel, and simply because Pakistan is has nuclear arsenal, therefore it becomes difficult for the Trump administration to take sides? Is this what it is?
Well, let me give you the answer to that. This nuclear blackmail is the reason why Manmohan Singh did not act and the previous government did not act. But then realize one thing, India also has nuclear power. Number two, it takes either aircraft or missiles to try to carry the nuclear weapons to the other country. Simply because a nuclear weapon sits in your silo, that doesn't mean that it is going to kill 400 million people on the other side. Now, there are very effective deterrent systems to try to shoot down these missiles. The Iranians fired almost 400 projectiles at Israel. And how many of them reached? They were almost all shot down.
Yeah.
The Pakistanis sent 400 drones to India. How many of them survived? So, yes, everybody understands the menace of nuclear power and nobody wants it. But Pakistan has to understand that if they fired a nuclear missile, it has to reach India before it can do damage. And India probably is developing technology or has the technology to shoot down these missiles.
Okay.
And Pakistan should realize that it will be on the recipient end and there will be no more Pakistan after that.
Okay. Scott, the same question to you. What is the hesitancy of the international community for calling out Pakistan for what it is? Is it because it is nuclear equipped?
I think that the nuclear blackmail is certainly a factor, but I also think that as you look around the world at world leaders, we do not have moral leadership anymore in the world. We're not, I mean, when you look at the moral equivalency that Trump brought to Ukraine versus Russia, I mean, the only place where he is steadfastly on in essence, the right side is Israel versus Hamas, and trying to do something with Iran. But even there, he thinks he can make a deal. So you don't, except for Prime Minister Modi, there's really no one in the world standing up in a strategic, moral leadership way. And I think that's, and of course, it's a tragedy because then bad actors like Pakistan get away with things. But I think that we're in a very different era. We're in a business era. We're in an every man for himself era, which is very different than we were even just a few years ago.
Okay. I'm going to come back to you, Lieutenant General Nitin Kohli. Now, there is going to be a meeting that is going to be held at the UNSC. India is going to put forth its case. We've already seen, a setback by way of the IMF bailout being handed over to Pakistan. We've already seen in the last couple of years that Pakistan has somehow magically, in some mysterious way, been removed from the FATF blacklist. How can we gather momentum and rally the world in backing India against Pakistan to put it back in the FATF blacklist and stoppage of these bailouts? Because it's essentially what it is doing is refunding Pakistan for the drones and missiles that it used against India, and to rebuild its military arsenal and hand it over to the terrorists to once again get infiltrated into India.
Neha, before I come to that, can I just make a point?
Yeah.
You see, this is the first time that two nuclear powers have fought, and so decisively a nuclear power has been defeated. The wars which USA fights or UK or anyone else fight, they don't fight with a nuclear opponent. I think the last time it has happened in the world was when Chinese fought with Russians at the bank of Suri River, long time back. That is one. Having said that, you see some of the messages we have given by this. Firstly, the Bangladesh has got a very clear message. The mischiefs he has been trying, or Yunus had been making some statements regarding our Northeast. He knows what the future lies for him. Number one. Secondly, what has happened is, you were talking some time back, how come they have stopped this? Our Chinese equipment and the USA's equipment were getting exposed here. The way accuracy of our missiles and the UAVs were there, and the way their equipment was getting exposed, it was not palatable to the arms lobby. So, and we have also learned today on the social media the number of African countries are probably considering or cancelling some of their orders with China. Anyway, having said that, the point which you asked, and also in this, the countries which are really sort of enjoying, they're very happy. One is Russia, whose equipment have shown so much of accuracy, Israel, and the third one is Taiwan, because Taiwan also knows that the China's equipment is also going to behave like this only with them, all the kind of bravado which China shows to them. Now, the point what you asked.
Yeah.
You see, even for IMF also, and FATF also, Prime Minister had spoken to a number of countries, and our External Affairs Minister spoke to a large number of countries. See, today, the way composition of UNSC is, Pakistan itself is a non-permanent member. China is sitting there. So we should not expect too much from UNSC. And FATF, in any case, Turkey is also one of the members. China is also one of the members. We may not be able to do this. But my only point is, let's not worry about this. We are doing enough to squeeze Pakistan.
Okay.
You see this IWT thing with the water part which is going on. This itself is a nuclear weapon in our hands. Tap on, tap off. This itself will take care of them.
Okay.
Also, no trade with them. And the other things that are happening in BLA and TTP are known to you. It will implode from within. It's only a question of time.
Okay. All right. On that note, I'm going to reflect this breaking development coming in. The Union Home Minister Amit Shah has posted on X. He has applauded Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech. He said that today the Prime Minister made a demarcation, the boundary for India's enemies through the example of Operation Sindoor, in which our armed forces raised the very edifice of terrorism in Pakistan's backyard. Our armed forces have made Pakistan shudder with their might and set a new normal for zero tolerance for terrorism. Modi ji has reiterated our resolve that Bharat will strike back the very moment our enemies dare to make a mistake. Do listen to his powerful speech. So that's the statement coming in from the Union Home Minister, and that's the key takeaway. The Prime Minister has, through this very decisive, strong policy, brought about a new normal, that any future act of terror against India from Pakistan is going to be interpreted as an act of war. It could be not clearer than this. All right, on that note, I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast, and thanks for watching NewsX.